Happy Monday. I'm excited to talk about money today. It's February, so I've been thinking about all things money and finances lately because it's getting really close to tax time and it's also the beginning of the year, so it's a great time to kind of review your financial situation, get a good grip on how things are going to go in the new year, set some goals, and all that stuff. It's really timely to kind of talk about money stuff. And today, for you guys, I have just a bunch of random tips that I've collected over my years as a business owner. And I just thought I'd kind of go through my 12 random tips I have for you, and hopefully you will find them helpful and you can implement them in your own business. Um, Quickly, I just want to mention that in 2 days at 12 p.m. on February 7th, we have our guest expert, Melissa Whaley. She is coming into the group to talk about taxes, and you should definitely RSVP to that event and come at the time so that you can learn all you can about that topic, as it's super important, obviously. And if you want to get access to her longer, more advanced training, you can join the Client Vault for $14, and that will give you access to all of our awesome resources for this month. And we actually did a finances month last year as well, so there's a really cool financial money tracker spreadsheet template that I have in there that I think you guys will really like. So yeah, let's jump in to my 12 random money tips. I have this list out here, so I'm just gonna, if you see me glancing down, I'm looking at my notes. All right, so my first tip, I kind of sat down, I'm like, I'm going to write down all the tips that I have about money, and my very first thing I wrote down was get an accountant. And this is something that I absolutely recommend. I remember when I started my business, and I was kind of lucky that I happened to start it at the beginning of, or it was kind of like it was in December, so I didn't really have much in the way to include in the taxes for that year, but then I had all of the next year to kind of get my stuff together and get ready for filing taxes for that year. So I had a whole year to kind of figure it out. But I'm really glad that I made the decision to actually get an accountant, because they're actually not that expensive. I thought an accountant was going to be so much money and I would never be able to afford it and it would just be a ridiculous expense. But I was super worried about having to figure out how to do the taxes myself, because if you know me at all, being bad at math is one of my top most personality traits. And I mean, my husband is good at math, but he'd never done his taxes for himself before. His dad always did them, and growing up we had kind of a family accountant that did them, so neither of us had any experience doing taxes, and we just got married, and so we were just like, yes, we're hiring an accountant. And I looked into it and it ended up not being that expensive at all, so I highly recommend getting an accountant if you can. Melissa Whaley, the guest expert for this month, is actually my personal accountant, so I highly recommend you checking out her services. She is amazing. So yeah, an accountant is awesome. You should get one. My second tip, which is kind of in that same vein, is that you should also get a bookkeeper. And I want to caveat this with you probably don't need a bookkeeper until you're around 5K per month, maybe 10K per month, or even 15K a month. But once you kind of reach that point where you're transitioning into an LLC and you're having subcontractors and you have a lot of expenses every month, at that point you may want to consider transitioning into getting a bookkeeper. We switched from Wave to QuickBooks. We got a bookkeeper. She does our books every week, and it's amazing to have her on staff because she is super helpful. It's Emily Volz, Volz, if you want to check her out. And again, it was not as expensive as I thought it was going to be, because math is so hard for me that I'm thinking, well, math is so hard, they must have to charge like thousands and thousands of dollars for this. But for people who are good at math, it's actually not that hard. So it is quite a bit more affordable than I was anticipating it to be. So I'm really glad that I hired a bookkeeper. We hired her in like September, and it's been such a huge like weight off my shoulders to have her doing that. And she helps me with my income reports every month too. She gives me like a list of all my income and expenses. It's so awesome to have her. Also, so kind of moving on to the third tip, when you first start a business, money is more valuable than time, but as you grow, your time becomes more valuable than money. So I remember when I first started out, I was kind of, I knew that people always said like time is money, but at that point I had so much free time on my hands that I was just like, I'm willing to spend time doing anything I can to even make like 2 cents. So a lot of people kind of have that mindset when they first start their business that, they're willing to do anything to make money. And that is totally normal. And it's okay if you don't feel like that, but I think it's really normal to feel that way, or at least have that a little bit. But as you grow, the thing that you'll realize is that your time becomes more and like incrementally more and more valuable as your business grows, and it becomes more valuable and more valuable and more valuable, and eventually you'll reach the point that your time is more valuable than money. So a lot of times when I'm deciding kind of what I'm going to do for the day, or like whatever, I can't stop thinking about my money my time in terms of money anymore. So if I'm watching TV, I'm like, oh man, I could have made $30 for the amount of time that I'm spending watching this episode. And that's kind of a joke, but you just have to keep that in mind. So especially when it comes to things like hiring subcontractors, if you can save an hour of your time, think about how much money an hour of your time is worth, and things become less expensive in your mind. So I just think that's a good thing to keep in mind, that as you go on in your business, your time becomes more and more valuable. So you really need to keep an eye on like what you're spending time on, and try to make sure that you are focusing on what's really important in your business. All right. The fourth tip is, so people always say that thing like, you're the average of your 5 best friends. And I think that's kind of a weird thing to say, but I think that when it comes to like business and finances, that this is totally true. And so it's important to hang out with people who are kind of where you want to be, people that you consider kind of role models, people who know more than you know, and kind of fill your life with people that are just really good influences on you, and people who are making like the goal amount that you want to make per month. And kind of when you hang out with them through osmosis, you'll kind of absorb some of that knowledge. You'll learn about them, how they structure their business and all that kind of thing. And versus if you hang out with people who don't have a good money mindset, it's easy to get sucked into that. And also your opportunities for learning and growing just aren't as much. And it's okay if you feel like you don't have that ability right now, and you feel like the fact that you may be the average of your 5 closest friends is a bad thing. If you feel like that, just know that you can totally break out of that. You just need to work extra hard on your money mindset and on your finances, and focus on bringing in some new people into your life that help even out that, and who can help you create a better kind of lifestyle for yourself. So the next tip is, don't take anything for granted. And I talked a little bit about this in my Facebook Live I did last week, which is now expired. It's been added to the vault if you do want to see it. It's just really important to appreciate what you have, and really kind of focus on those things that are already in your life that make you happy, and stop focusing on what you don't have. I think that can be so hard, and it's something that a lot of people struggle with, including myself. But I really continue to try to remind myself that it's so important to just be gracious, be grateful for what you have. And that kind of a mindset will also possibly help bring more wealth into your life. So you also want to set, oops, this is a separate one. Okay, we have 13. Oh, that's a bad number. Set goals in your business that make you feel a little bit uncomfortable. So I have a really good example of this. So in 2000, or like last year when I was setting my goals for my business, I kind of had this idea, or I had this idea of what I wanted to make in all of 2018, but I hadn't really kind of did the math to figure out like how much I would need to make per month. But I was just like, oh, I don't know, like it'd be really cool if I could have like 1 month in 2018 where I hit like a $15,000 month. And so I had set that goal where like I just wanted to do that like at least once in 2018, and I did it in January. And it was just like, honestly, I was super, super happy and proud of myself and everything, but it was also a little bit embarrassing that I had set this goal for myself and I had achieved it within 30 days of the year. And I was like, wow, I clearly did not set my goals high enough if I was able to achieve it so easily. So you have to set goals that make you feel a little bit uncomfortable, make you feel like, maybe I'm not going to reach that, because it really encourages you to like strive for more and like push yourself harder. So, now I have a goal to hopefully have a 20K month before the end of the year. And I'm really excited to see if that will happen. And that, that makes me nervous. I'm like, that's like double like my normal month. So yeah, that's a little scary, and that's good. I also think it's really important to be willing to invest in growing your knowledge and your network. So, and this kind of goes along with the fact that my Biz Bestie Squad has just officially launched, and we have a bunch of awesome people in the mastermind, and I'm super excited. I think it's really important to invest in something like that where you're giving yourself access to the tools that you need to grow your business. I think bootstrapping a business is a really good way to go, and that's totally how I did my own business. But at some point, it's really important to kind of grow outside of that and figure out how you can invest your money in something where you're really going to get a high amount of a return on it, and it's really going to help you grow your business and make even more money. So I try to look at it kind of like whenever I'm considering something, I'll be like, well, once I have this, how much money will it help me make? So for example, the Biz Bestie Squad is $29 a month. So you kind of have to think about it like, will having access to that type of a community for 30 days out of the month allow me to make at least an extra $30 a month? The answer is pretty obvious, I think. But that's also a good way to look at it with purchases that are a lot more expensive. So for example, when I was joining a mastermind, it was $5,000, and this was last year. I really had to think, would joining that mastermind allow me to make more than what I was investing? And the answer was totally 100% yes. It was the greatest decision ever. So I think that that's an interesting and useful way to look at things when you're thinking about investing. All right, next one, I forget which one we're even on now, but save money for taxes right from the very beginning. So a lot of you are just getting started out in your business, and I think it's important to remember that you need to save for taxes like right from the get-go. So the very first invoice you send, or the very first thing that you sell, you should be saving for taxes right away. And how you save for taxes is you take 30% of your profit. So if you worked for like 10 hours for $300 or whatever, then just kind of figure out, I mean, it's easier to do it per month because then you can calculate all those other expenses that goes into it, like your website hosting and your whatever, all those little things that you make go into that. So at the end of the month, kind of calculate everything that you made and all of your expenses, and then take 30% of the profit. So income minus expenses equals profit in that circumstance. I also want to mention that you should read Profit First as a great tool for kind of a unique, different way to look at it, but it's still the same thing. Like, you still need to save 30% of your profit for taxes either way. So yeah. The next thing is that you should start saving for retirement now. If you haven't already started saving for retirement, like, you should already be saving for retirement. So yeah, we actually have a retirement savings account. It doesn't have a ton in it, but we try to put a little bit into it every single month. And then hopefully by the time we're at retirement age, that will be a nice, healthy account with tons of money in it. And we use kind of the Profit First system to help us save money into that account every month. If you've read Profit First, you know what I mean. We put a certain percentage into our retirement account every month. So that is a great and easy way to do it. The next thing is know the worth of what you provide to people. So, for example, what I was talking about earlier, I was kind of like, I can't stop thinking about my time in terms of like 1 hour is worth X amount of dollars. But that is kind of the wrong way to look at it when you're talking about pricing yourself and selling your services and figuring out how you should price products and offerings and packages and all of that stuff. So how you should think about it is the worth of that hour. So for example, like, the actual hour is worth a certain amount of money, but then what you're doing in that hour is also worth its own amount. So what I mean is, like, if in 1 hour you were able to like build, okay, it's not going to be 1 hour obviously, but if you're able to like build a sales page for a client in like 10 hours, then like the 10 hours in and of itself is worth money, but then also them having that sales page is also worth its own amount, because that sales page is going to help them make money. So that is worth a lot more than just an hourly rate. And that's a great example of why things like sales funnel packages are so much more expensive than regular hourly work. Next tip, never do work before getting paid. I actually did this once when I was very, very first starting out in my business. I like was doing something for somebody and I was like, okay, like, I'll go ahead and do it and then I'll send you the invoice. And they were like, wait, no, send me the invoice first and then do the money. She was like, somebody may not have told you this before, but you need to get paid upfront always. And so that was really like this like eye-opening thing that happened to me. And I think she's totally right. And ever since that moment, I've never done work before getting paid. All of my clients pay upfront, or if it's kind of a more expensive thing, they kind of pay half upfront and then half before the second half of the project. So they're paying upfront for the first half and then upfront for the second half. There's never a point where like unpaid work is happening, and that's how you should do it. Absolutely. Also, don't let fear stop you from making money. So this is kind of a broad statement, but what I mean by this is there are a lot of things that you may be scared of in your business. Stuff like restructuring your offerings, setting goals, doing XYZ. And you have to think about, like, being scared of those things is fine, but if being scared is going to make you not do them, and not doing them is going to lead you to not make more money, then that's a bad thing. And so you should really focus on not letting fear stop you from making those choices and being able to make money. So just don't be afraid to like take small risks in your business, to change things up and kind of do things that may pay off in a very big way. Um, Sometimes it's hard to judge whether or not you should take a risk or not. You don't know if it's fear stopping you, or it's just like actually a bad idea. So a great way to kind of figure that out is to join a mastermind like the Biz Bestie Squad. Get feedback from your peers on it and ask them what they think about it, and that will help you decide whether it's a good decision or not. Okay, so the last thing on this list is some financial decisions need to be made based on where you could get if you made them. Don't let your current state of being stop you from investing when and where you need to. So this kind of goes back to what I was saying about being willing to invest in your business. It's super important, and you have to kind of make decisions that are good for the future you. So a good example of this is when I was joining that mastermind. That was $5,000. It was it was so much money, and it's still so much money. But I had to think if I'm able to get to where I think I'm going to be able to get to with the help of this mastermind, is that worth this amount of money? And the answer was 100% yes, because I was trying to make the leap from $5K per month to $10K per month. So I was like, even if I'm just able to do it once, that will completely pay for itself. So I just had to really think about where I wanted to be and where I was, and don't let that fear of oh no, that's a lot of money, I can't spend that right now, I need to save it, stop you from investing when it's really important for you to invest in your business. There are some decisions that are good and some decisions that are bad, but if it's really going to improve your life, improve your business, and make a big difference, you need it's important to be okay with spending that money, even if it's a little bit uncomfortable now, because ultimately reaping those rewards is going to pay off in the future big time. So yeah, those are my 13 random money tips, things that I've learned in the past 2 years as a business owner. So I really hope that you found those tips helpful, and let me know if you have any other questions about taxes, money, finances, any of that stuff. And don't forget to come at 12 p.m. on the 7th for Melissa Whaley's Live on Taxes.